You are so in denial. You need therapy.
And welcome to today's show. Today an absolutely chock-a-block full episode. In just a moment we'll be reviewing the Tag Heuer Aquaracer, which is a watch that you guys have been requesting for absolutely donkeys. So a massive thank you to my good friend Rick for very graciously lending his Aquaracer in and making this review possible. Also, as you can see behind me, I will be discussing Gordon Ramsay's horological choices. From the watches I've seen him wear, there's no doubt he has great taste and some not so great taste in watches, but we'll be discussing that in just a moment, because also he's a bit of a role model for me, and I know Hell's Kitchen and stuff like this is not exactly highbrow, but there are some traits, some definite things that everybody can learn from Gordon Ramsay. I mean, his hard work. Anyway, we'll get into that in just a moment. Oh, and also, I nearly forgot, wristwatch check. I'm still wearing the pinky. The reason I'm still wearing it is because I'm trying to enjoy, I'm trying to gauge, help me decide on my next medium-term goal, which is, of course, between the Rolex Explorer and the Rolex DateJust. I've narrowed it down to two particular watches, so we'll be taking a look at that as well a little bit later on. So first of all, let's kick off the video with a review of the AquaRacer. Today I'm reviewing a watch that has been probably the most requested watch ever for me to review, and this of course is the newest AquaRacer from Tag Heuer. And as you can see, this is the beautiful blue version. This is a 2014 release. The AquaRacer Heuer line actually goes back 30 years, all the way back to the Heuer 2000, which is back in 1982. It has an unmistakably distinctive look, probably most characterized by that raised bezel, something that has always been a part of the AquaRacer way back until its early days. And I'll be sure to include some images so you can kind of see how it has evolved. Now, the last version before this was back in 2010, I believe. The latest version from 2014 has very, very subtle differences, but they really are very similar. It's just a kind of carefully more nuanced progression, so to speak, of the 2010 version. So this of course is entirely stainless steel. It's a Swiss-made fully automatic dive watch, and as the name suggests, 300, the AquaRacer 300 is indeed 300 meters water resistant, or 1,000 feet, as you can see on the dial. Now this particular AquaRacer comes in four variations. There's black and white dial, and then there's the blue as you see here, and then the grey. Now the blue and the grey are the only two that have this kind of sunburst effect, although they all have this ridged, I describe it a bit like window blinds. Rather than tapestry that goes vertically, these ridges or lines go horizontally. So let's quickly get the dimensions out the way. The diameter is just a little over 40 millimeters and a half. We've got a nice thickness of only 13 millimeters, so quite nice and slender. Lug to lug, we're looking at 47. Lug width, we're looking at 20. So a really nice compact size, and quite surprising considering it's a 2014 release. I actually really like the size and scale, and off the bat I've got to say it is very solid feeling. Something that I've noticed of all the newer Tag Heuers. Beautifully brushed sections and then a high polish on the sides, and look at that sculpted bezel. We've got beautiful beveled edges there with brushed on the top, and then engraved numerals. Got a little lume pip. This of course is 120 click unidirectional. Very, very solid. These little raised sections really do make it easy to grip to turn. Now the style is very, very particular, and the first thing I think about when I look at this these beautiful angular edges, there's no rounded edges whatsoever. It's all very subtle. They're not sharp, but they're definitely angular. We do have quite a very subtle curve, but it's pretty flat. The aesthetic really does remind me of kind of 60s brutalist architecture, and although I say 60s, it's by no means retro. It's still very kind of modernist, almost futurist in a certain regard. It does remind me of Marcel Breuer architecture, this kind of, you know, harsh but at the same time somehow industrial and futuristic. The dial definitely is quite ravishing. That deep rich blue, the sunburst effect, with at the same time with those ridges that give it very particular texture. We have beautiful applied numerals. We have C3 luminova. In fact, while we're talking about the luminova, let's quickly have a look at the lume shot. And as you can see, very bright and responsive. And what I like is the different shapes. You can easily distinguish where 12 o'clock is by that big triangle. And of course, a really nice bright pip on the bezel as well. Not only that, it's easy to tell the minute from the hour hand. Really great lume. Let's take it back to the studio. The second hand has a kind of arrowhead but cut off at the end to give it that kind of angular squared look, in keeping with that the theme of this watch. The hands are very subtly faceted. You almost don't see that, and a really nice simple seconds and minutes track running around the outside. Where you can see the ridges end. It's got really nice attention to detail, lots of layering going on, quite an involved dial. And then of course the date there at 3 o'clock, nicely framed in white. And I don't think it's applied. Well, yeah, it is applied. We got the Tag Heuer logo and a beautiful stainless steel applied as well, with AquaRacer written in crisp white, really legible. And then of course caliber 5 and the depth rating written at the bottom there. Inside we have the caliber 5, which of course is based on the ETA 2824-2. It's a 25 joule movement, operates at 28,800 vibrations an hour, 38-hour power reserve, does have quick set on the date. It is of course hackable, and we do have a manual wind. We have a screw down crown, which I'll just unscrew right now. Now, something I have noticed about whenever I've reviewed Tag Heuer's is that even though it's just a standard ETA or Solita, they always do feel quite refined. And when you wind this, it has quite a buttery feel, something that I don't tend to see. And well, you guys know I reviewed a ton of watches with this movement. So we have a stainless steel bracelet with a slightly raised center link. It does taper nicely. We have a 2-button single deployant clasp, and there is a diving extension. Although it's a stamped one, there is a diving extension. There are micro adjustments on the clasp, and it's quite solid and well done. Simply signed Tag Heuer there. And then on the back we have quite an exquisitely done engraving. The diving bell, which again something, a motif that has been inherent in the AquaRacer line for quite a while. Screw-in case back, and I've got to say I really do like the way they've done it. Bead blasted deeper engraving there, very, very nicely done indeed. We have a flat sapphire glass that has anti-reflective treatment and sits slightly raised from the bezel, but is protected by these little raised sections. Let's pop it on the wrist and see how it wears. Okay, so here we have it on the wrist, and as you can see, it really does wear very nicely. It sits beautifully. Now, despite the lack of curvature of the case, it being quite flat, it wears very nicely indeed. It's very, very comfortable. My only slight concern is the crown does stick out quite a long way. It's funny, the crown does seem to be fairly pronounced. The lug guards are not the largest in the world, but they are there. But really solid feeling watch. I'm quite surprised. It does remind me a little bit of the Patek Nautilus. It kind of has a slight Nautilus feel about it, although it is obviously very much an AquaRacer. I think it's the combination of that dial and these kind of edges, beveled edges on the bezel there. Okay, so let's take it back to the studio and summarize the watch. Positives and negatives of the AquaRacer. Well, first of all, there's no doubt that it is a very unique design. It's got its own character, its own personality. It's not trying to be a Submariner or a Seamaster. It's very much its own thing. It's a very carefully considered design with its own aesthetic lineage that it's evolved from, and I respect that. Second of all, it's very well made. I mean, it's a hefty 160 grams and it feels very well put together. Is it of a luxury standard? Well, that is a very difficult thing to quantify, and we'll discuss that a little bit further on. Thirdly, it's a very versatile watch. It's quite a difficult thing to balance being a tool watch, you know, something you can go diving, take to the beach, and at the same time it's quite dressy. Just as you can take it to the beach and wear it very casually, you can also get away with wearing it for kind of smart casual. It has that versatility, and that's something not easy to do. And I think it's quite a clever thing because a lot of people, most people don't actually collect watches. Most people just have a few, and it can really tick a lot of boxes. So its versatility is definitely one of its strongest points. Okay, let's move on to the negatives. Well, the crown sticks out a little bit. I think it juts out a little. It could have been a little bit flatter. Very minor thing. Something we do have to bring up, a definite negative, is it has quite terrible resale value. The positive of this is that you can find used ones affordably, but if you buy it, you change your mind, you sell it on the used market further down the road, you're not going to get as much money back as you would, let's say, a Zinn or an Oris for the same amount of money. Thirdly, it's aesthetic. As we saw in the review, we looked back at some of the 90s and 80s models. Of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but in my opinion, they've dated rather badly. I mean, you compare them to an Omega Seamaster, the Bond from the 90s, that still kind of look cool to this day. I'm a little bit concerned that its angular, brutalist, modernist aesthetic might not date. Actually, we draw parallels to the style of architecture. Brutalism is one of the most divisive styles out there. I mean, there's some architects who really despise it, and I can understand why, because it is devoid of any kind of ornamentation. Although the Tag, the Heuer, it is kind of pretty in some ways with that dial. It's a tricky thing to gauge, but you know, my concern is that it might not age as well as a more classic diver design. And last of all, you know, is it of a luxury standard? Now, I'm wearing my little Tudor Submariner today, and to me this is a luxury watch. Yes, okay, it's still based on an ETA the same way the Tag is, but it has white gold applied markers. It has screws in the links. You know, these little nuances make it luxury. It's the detail, it's that little extra effort. The Tag, it has pins, a tiny bit of decoration on the movement, but it doesn't have that luxury cachet. And personally, I don't consider it a luxury watch. I consider it mid-tier, higher end, entry level, so to speak. But I don't consider it luxury. And of course, it's very much open to your own interpretation. But that's just my opinion. We could do a whole video on what is a luxury watch, and maybe we'll do that one day. Actually, that's a great discussion for the rest of the guys as well. So we will address that at some point. But in my personal opinion, it's not a luxury watch. If you look at what else is available at that price range, you know, used Omega Seamaster, which I do kind of consider luxury, maybe an Oris, which is kind of nipping at the heels, is, in my opinion, of a better finish and a better standard. A Zinn, definitely. So generally, it's a great watch, and I can certainly see what the appeal, and if it's your only watch and you like it, then you know, honestly, I would actually recommend it. Tag Heuers, modern Tag Heuers, they do get shunned a bit by the watch snobs. I still haven't really understood why. Nobody's actually given me a definitive clear reason. Yes, they have quite aggressive advertising, and I still don't understand what the fuss is about. I think it is a good watch for the money, a really decent watch for the money. It's nothing extremely special, but it has got its own heritage to it, and you could do far worse. Let's move on to the next topic, and that is, of course, my deliberation between Rolex Explorer or buying back a DateJust. I've had many DateJusts, and maybe that's something I should consider. Although I've always enjoyed them, I've always missed them. So the choice really is, should I go with that safe bet, with something with a different dial, with the salmon pink dial, or should I go with the Rolex Explorer, that is an icon, made in tribute, of course, to the Sir Edmund Hillary expedition, although he did actually wear a Smith's watch when he was on Everest. But yeah, it's very clever how Rolex have kind of appropriated that event. Of course, it is still iconic. I think of Ian Fleming, and it's still a great watch, but maybe a little bit too conservative. Maybe I need a pop of color like a pink salmon dial, but then again, you know, it's very difficult. If I go for the DateJust, obviously I'm going to sell this piece. If I go for the Explorer, I don't know. So anyway, without further ado, let's change perspectives and have a look at some on eBay. Okay, so here we are having a look at some Rolexes. Now, I've basically whittled it down to two. However, I am a little bit kind of interested in the Air King. This is the 116900 that came out this year. I believe it was this year. I'm pretty sure it was this year, 2016. So there's not that many. Well, actually, there's quite a few on eBay, and they're pretty much all new. Now the prices are, you know, in the $6,000 mark. There's a few grey market dealers. I would never buy a watch this expensive from grey market like German Shop or anyone like that, but possibly you might find one used. Actually, let's see if there's any used at all. I think 3 used, so let's just click on that. Here we go. Right, so there's one actually for under $6,000. Let's take a look at that. Not very good pictures, but the price is good. What is the feedback? 100%. That's good. Gold watch coat. Their name does sound familiar. Anyway, better pictures here. Fairly decent description. What about the condition? Oh, guys, by the way, before we get into eBay, I'll put a little card thingy up there. Questions to ask when buying on eBay. A kind of guide, because you have to be careful, you know. But anyway, this person offers 14-day money-back guarantee. That's not bad. 100% feedback, not bad. Kosher Miami, yeah. I'd feel fairly confident from ordering from this place. They seem well established. I'd give them a ring. But anyway, guys, refer back to my video on 10 questions you must ask before buying, especially something of this amount of money. But anyway, the new Air King is growing on me. When it first was released, I really didn't like the way they've done the Rolex logo in green and yellow. I thought it looked a bit kind of cheapened it, but I understand they're trying to differentiate it more from the Explorer. But I mean, is it really necessary with that? I do like that the green second hand and the way they've matched it. I love the new numerals, the minutes, 5, 10, 20. I think that's really cool. Are those loomed? I wonder if they're loomed. Actually, let's have a look. Let's have a look for a loom shot. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let's Google that. Loom shot. Oh, that's disappointing. That's the only loom. That's very disappointing. Shame these numerals are not loomed up. That would be... Oh, is that singer? What's he called? Bubbly, Boobly, whatever. That's a real shame. I would love to see these numerals. It's a bit boring, isn't it, without the loom? Ha! That's funny. I was thinking it looks a little bit like a speedometer. So the Air King, let's have a look at it on the actual Rolex website, because the pictures are a little bit not good enough really, and also I kind of want to know a little bit more about it. Here we go, Rolex Air King, a homage to aviation. So it's a 40mm, which is absolutely fine. Actually, let's read about the dial. The Air King dial features distinctive black dial with combination of large blah 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 blah. It bears the name Air King, same lettering design specifically in the model in the 1950s. So it has the oyster bracelet. Ah, the 3131 movement. That's an interesting choice of movement. I wonder why they didn't go for the 3132. I don't think that has the Paraflex shock absorber. Let's have a look. So this is the 3130 that's in the earlier Explorers. Which one is it? 3131. Right, 3131. Here we go. Right, so it does have Parachrome blue Breguet hairspring. Doesn't have the Paraflex shock absorbers. Interesting. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, we'll come back to this because I want to take a look at this particular movement. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So interesting. So anyway, but I mean, it's a rock solid movement. I mean, all the 3000 series of movements from Rolex are just outstanding. This kind of money, I'm not sure. I'd prefer actually to go with a Rolex Explorer. I like the Air King, but 40mm. Also, it's high. That kind of money. I don't. I have to love it. I have to really love it. Anyway, so let's have a look at some Rolex Explorers. Well, that's a DateJust. Now, this is the DateJust that I owned last year, and I sold it with Roman, smooth bezel, the oyster bracelet, beautiful sunburst effect on the dial there, absolutely gorgeous. And this is something I'm considering buying back, but we'll come back to this in a moment because let's have a look at Rolex Explorers first. So here we are, 36mm Rolex Explorer. This is the older version, the 114270. Why do they put Rolex Explorer 1? I hate when they do that. It's just Rolex Explorer. There's Explorer 2, and then there's a Rolex Explorer. There's no Explorer. Anyway, price is not bad. Kosher dealer, 100% feedback. 30-day money back guarantee. That's very good. Nice pictures. Very nice pictures. You can see it's a little dinged up, but that's absolutely fine. Let's have a look at see if there has been a little bit of polishing. There's a few dings here, but that's fine. That's to be expected. 12 people watching this. Where are they? Nashville, Tennessee. Oh wow. Where's the description? Wow, there's no description. Absolute. Wow. All they say, beautiful condition, good condition. Okay, well, first of all, there's no description here. It's like they haven't bothered. What year is it? 2000. Serial number K. The 114270, I believe, has the 3130 movement, which is absolutely fine. It's one of their most rock solid movements. Hasn't got the upgrades that's in the newer. This is the newer Explorer. This is the 39mm here. This is the new one, and this is a listing from Tennessee Wholesale Deals. Now, here we have a proper description. Sapphire glass. Oh, no box, no papers. Good pictures, though. Oh, we have the newer class. It has the Easy Link in there. It doesn't have the glide lock extension like in the Submariner. But this particular, the 39mm, I can still rock 39mm. Absolutely fine. Very, very good condition. Doesn't look polished at all. Looks pristine. Let's see head on. Look at those lugs, nice and symmetrical. Doesn't look polished at all. Yeah, so this is the new one. Here we go, 3132. So it's got the Parachrome, Paraflex, fantastic. And this is an Explorer 2142 WAY2212, which is the Explorer. It's a true classic. It's understated. It's a tool watch. It comes with the brushed oyster bracelet. This has all the upgrades. I'd probably actually go for this version. Spend a little more over the 36 and have all the mod cons. My only reservation is that it's a bit too similar to what I've got already, and also it doesn't really bring anything. It's very understated, very classic, absolute classic, an icon, undoubtedly, but perhaps a little bit boring. I don't know. So let's look at my other choices. We'll fast forward to my other choice, and here it is. This is my other choice, and you guys know I'm obsessed with pink dials at the moment. This is a listing for a new without tags. It says never worn, but I doubt that. Look at the dirt in the Jubilee. I want a Jubilee. I just love the Jubilee bracelet. I always have. Always have. I've had previous DateJusts on it, and I miss it immensely, the way it wears. This is the new Jubilee. I've never had the newer Jubilee. I had the old tinny one. Also, I want a smooth bezel rather than the fluted, because I think it's a little bit more contemporary, and I just got to have salmon pink dial. I just think it's a gorgeous pop of color. So this is the 3135, same as in my Submariner, and the same as in the Rolex, the DateJust I had before. Where is the DateJust? Here we go. Now, actually, this listing, sorry, not this one. Where is it? This one. I wouldn't buy this because it says new, never worn, and I think it has been worn. And also 6,195, far too expensive. I'd actually probably get something like this, which is new with tags and still has the stickers on it. 100% fee, but only 97. Bit risky. They do have money back. Good description, decent pictures. Here we go. Stickers still on it. Yeah, with the box and everything. 36mm, smooth bezel. Now it comes with the oyster bracelet. I would change it out to the Jubilee, but I can do that. I guess I'll have to go aftermarket. But thing is about the pink salmon pink dials, nobody wants them. They're kind of unwanted. I think they're gorgeous. My other option is to go back to the blue dial. My wife actually really loves this blue dial, and I do miss it immensely. The only thing is I've had it before, and I think pink just brings a bit of pizzazz, a bit of liveliness, but without being brash and gaudy of gold. Has a kind of preppy. It's just, I just love pink, man. I love pink. Now this is another option, but which is a kind of hybrid of the two. We've got the 39 and 6 there, like the Explorer, pink dial, but I just don't think it works with a pink dial. I think the 39 and 6 is a very kind of tooly looking dial, and also I just don't think it works. Just my opinion. However, a bit expensive. 3499 for 34mm. That's fine. I could get away with that, but I do prefer 36. It's very nice though, very nice. What did they put the condition? Pre-owned, of course. It's not bad. I'll put it in the watch list. So really, it's really down to this. Do I go with the pink DateJust, which is, you know, a dial I really love. Romans, I think, are just pure class. I don't want to get the batons. I want something a bit more dressy. You know, it's just a solid watch. Or do I go back to this, which, you know, undoubtedly I love, and I sold it because I needed the money. I bought my Navi time. I had to fund my trip to London. You know, I don't regret it at all because I had so much fun and I love my Navi. But now I think I've got to the point where, you know, I want to save up. Or do I go with something new, or relatively new, like the 39mm Rolex, but is a tiny bit overlapping of my tool watches already? You know, maybe it's a bit too understated, maybe it's a bit too conservative. You know, I do love that preppy pop of color with the pink, you know. It's a shame this one is not better priced. Oh, they do have make an offer. I could make them a very cheeky offer. Watch Fanatic CT in Connecticut. Yeah, 30-day money back. At least they got good reputation there. Outer box, minor dent, blah blah blah. That's fine. Yeah, I could give them a cheeky offer. Oh, just look at that on the Jubilee. I mean, look at the dirt on the here. Or is that a reflection? I think it's dirt. I think it has been worn. Let's have a look at the back. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, that's not new. That is not new. And I don't like when a listing shows you one thing. And look at the dirty sticker. Shows you one thing and they say another. That's usually, you know, a telltale sign something's off. Oh, just look at that pink. Do I go that or do I go that? Do I go that or do I go that? Or do I go that? Oh, just don't know. Anyway, let's take it back to the studio.
I'm f***ing happy.
You can get out.
Go on.
You can get out.
Yourself.
You can get out. It's my kitchen.
Yeah, is it? Well, it's your f***ing kitchen and clean it, you lazy
No.
Yeah, because I've been called you here many times.
Classic. Anyway, so Gordon Ramsay at his finest there. But listen, yes, okay, it's not exactly highbrow intellectual entertainment, but there's no doubt he's a watch guy. I mean, I've seen him. There's shots of him. Where is it? Apparently wearing a Mill sub. I don't believe it. I mean, it's definitely a Rolex on a leather strap. Definitely vintage because of the patina, but the Mercedes hand, I think they're Mercedes hands. It's very difficult to see on these close-ups. I don't think it's a Mill sub. Definitely vintage Submariner, undoubtedly. But anyway, then of course there's his classic, the Breitling Chronomat Longitude in yellow, which I must admit, I mean, come on, it's not the most attractive of colors for a dial, but what I do like about Ramsay is that despite, you know, I've seen him wear new Rolexes. In fact, actually, when I was in Las Vegas, he was on a billboard about 3-4 stories high, and he was standing like this, with his arms crossed like this, and you could see he was wearing a Rolex Submariner, the new one, ceramic. Because the billboard was so big, the Submariner was as, you know, as tall as me, so there's no mistaking what it was. Also, from what I learned online, he is a Breitling guy. I think he's a Breitling ambassador. I'm not 100% sure. If you know, please do share. And there's the new Submariner for MasterChef. Anyway, so he's definitely a watch guy. What I really like about him is that this yellow Breitling, despite all the fancy watches he's got since, he comes back to this. I was watching Hell's Kitchen. It's a kind of guilty pleasure because my wife is in the culinary industry. After work, we watch Hell's Kitchen. It's our little bit of trash. Every so often, you know, it's good to have something trashy. And we watch it the same reason everybody else watches Ramsay, because it's enjoyable to see him berate and boss people around. And some people really do need a kick up the butt, you know, to get going. When I was at art school, a penurious student, of course, I took a job at a French restaurant. A friend of mine was a chef, and I was just doing washing up, you know, for extra money, part-time, right? I got to see a little bit how crazy it gets in kitchens, so it's always intrigued me. My wife has worked in many kitchens as well, professionally, because she's in that industry. So we do kind of enjoy it. But what I like about Ramsay is that he, despite all the fancy watches, he comes back to the Breitling, this quite, come on, let's say it's an ugly Breitling. I mean, yellow's not the most popular color. You can see it even in the newest seasons of Hell's Kitchen. He will, on occasion, wear, I've seen him wear swatches as well. But it's nice to see that obviously this watch is special to him, and he still wears it. Maybe it's a good luck thing. Maybe he's attained maybe the watch has attained a sentimental value like my Submariner and, you know, my more special watches. So it's a nice thing, and I admire him tremendously. I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves in life, and I absolutely abhor laziness. It's definitely one of the least attractive traits a person can have, and I really admire his hard work. You can loathe him, you can love him, you can loathe him, but there's no doubt about it, he is extremely talented. I've eaten his food. He's an achiever. He's come from really humble means and has achieved, and he embodies this kind of go-getter perfectionist attitude, and I find it so admirable, you know, because certainly in this day and age, people are so entitled. They just feel that they're kind of spoiled these days. You know, we've lost that Victorian era grit kind of. What's the expression? It's, you know, he's got a backbone. Not only is he talented, he does have a very acerbic wit. I mean, for example, last night we were watching an episode, and the lamb was still raw, and he said it's so raw, it's still got wool on it. You know, this kind of these little one-liners, they're just great. And I kind of like the fact that he's a watch guy. Guys, if you know what watch is, I mean, I was looking at the Mil Sub. I don't think it's a Mil Sub, but there's a lot of photographs online of him wearing various watches, Breitlings. I think he's a Breitling guy, definitely a Breitling guy. But I mean, again, what does that mean? We're stereotyping. But it is interesting, and it's great to see him still wearing that same old Breitling from when he started his career. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Please don't forget to add your thoughts, queries, questions, opinions, all the rest of it down in the comments. Please, I really do love hearing your feedback. Thank you very, very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. It really does help me. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, guys. Ciao.
Get out. It's my kitchen.
Yeah, is it? Where's your kitchen and cleaner, you lazy?
Now.